It's really important to understand that the knee joint itself is a hinge joint. Understanding the way the joints work is going to be really critical in being able to really help preserve the integrity of the joint and use the joint to the best way possible. So, a hinge joint means that you can flex and extend that joint pretty easily. What it doesn't mean is that it likes rotation, because it really doesn't. Your femur bone is attached to the tibia, and there's a groove there where it fits in perfectly, and you can flex and extend. The kneecap or the patella sits right on top. And when we look at the knee joint and we look at the tracking in the knee joint, we can tell whether it's tracking properly if we can follow where the kneecap goes. So my knee would often track improperly, and the kneecap would actually drift to the medial side, the inside. Part of the reason was because of my foot. I had flat feet, and because of that, my inner ankle would drop, the inside of the foot would drop, and then it would cave the knee in. And when it caved the knee in, it would pinch the medial meniscus, and then the muscles around the knee joint also started compensating. And that all stemmed from the foot. Some people have the opposite, where the kneecap actually drifts laterally. And that's often caused by tension in the hip or the IT band. So you've heard that many people who have maybe hip or knee issues, oh, you should roll out your IT band. Well, yes and no. The IT band actually doesn't stretch. You can roll it out, but really what I tell people is to work on the hip muscles and really stretching the outer hip and strengthening the inner hip. Now, here's the deal with the lower half of your body. The knee takes a lot of weight, and it's, again, not meant to really twist. Healthy knees can twist a little, no problem. But sensitive knees like mine, I have to really work on keeping my hip joint actually quite flexible and strong. The hip joint is meant to rotate or do circumduction. Circumduction in a ball and socket joint just means that you can spin it all around and it can move in a whole circle. Of course, if you did that to your knee, you'd probably wince in pain if it was to move in a whole circle. But the hip joint is meant to do that. So if you have low range of motion in your hip, meaning if your hips are stiff or tight, guess what's going to happen? It's going to force the mobility into your knee joint, and you definitely don't want that. In the West, we are known as having loose knees and tight hips. And what we want to have here in the West is looser hips and tighter knees, very stable knees, and a little bit more flexibility in the hips. Unless you're hypermobile, and that's a whole nother story. But most people aren't. So that's just a little bit that I can give you today on your knee joint, working on the feet, making sure you have proper arches. And I taught myself how to have arches, so I don't have to have any kind of plastic insert or anything like that. But that takes a while to develop, but it is possible. And then also to work on the hip itself and all the muscles surrounding the hip, like the hamstring, the quads, the gluteus muscle, the outer hip, and the inner thigh. So that whole area needs to be worked with in order to keep the hip mobile. And then you use those same principles with those muscles in the hip and the lower leg to strengthen the knee joint and make it stable and strong. Okay, nice talking with you guys. Hope that helped understand a little bit what's happening in your knee. And if you want any more help, just shoot me a comment or a private message. Much love. Talk to you soon. And Charlie says bye too. He's going to wave with his foot. Bye, everyone.